The Patriots have already fallen off the cliff. It doesn't matter. The only question at this point continues to be how they're going to clean up the mess. Last week I said, we have to treat it as a given that Bill Belichick won't be back in 2024. The question is, how will the divorce happen? Resignation, retirement, firing, mutual parting, or he gets traded. And, one of the big things we do here is we try to interpret what's happening and explain to you what to look for, where the puck may be moving. Others can tell you where the puck is. We pride ourselves on trying to tell you where it's moving, and we acknowledge that sometimes we're wrong. On this one, though, I think I'm right. Rewind 3 weeks and 3 days. That was the day that Ian Rappaport broke in with the report on NFL Network's pregame show that Bill Belichick, in the offseason, signed a lucrative multi-year contract. So that just adds context to these current discussions surrounding Bill Belichick. Well, what the hell does that mean? What's the context? You know what the context is? Somebody wanted to get the word out there at a time when it felt like Belichick could be fired during the season, that it's going to cost Robert Kraft a lot of money, so much money that he wouldn't do it. That was the message someone was trying to send. They were trying to take a fire hose to the talk about Belichick getting fired during or after the season by saying, well, you know what? It's going to cost a lot of money. Maybe he's not going to do it. And my initial reaction was, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If Kraft is going to move on from Belichick, he's going to move on from Belichick. So take it 3 weeks beyond that initial report. Rappaport again on the pregame show before the Colts-Patriots game in Germany. He said, as it turns out, the contract that was signed in the offseason was a new contract, which means Belichick was a free agent, which means he could have gone anywhere he wanted. He stays with the Patriots on a 2-year deal. 2 years. So if they fire him, they own for 1 year. That's a write-off. It's nothing. You want to move on? You want to be relevant again? You got to rip off the Band-Aid and go. The other thing that Rappaport said that confirms the stuff we've been spitballing about, the Patriots aren't inclined, and I'm paraphrasing here, but they're not inclined to fire Belichick during the season because they think they can get value for him after the season. They can trade him. This first came up when we were talking about the possibility of the Commanders. I think the Buccaneers are a team to watch. I think the Panthers are a team to watch just because with David Tepper, you never know what the hell he's going to do. There are other teams out there that may look at this and say, we could be better with Bill Belichick. We could put the proper guardrails in place so Belichick, the GM, doesn't make it harder for Belichick, the coach. We've got a quarterback that maybe Belichick could win with. So I think the purpose of the leak 3 weeks and 3 days ago was to get people to quit talking about Belichick possibly being fired during the season. I think the purpose of the leak from 3 days ago to NFL media, owned and operated by the 32 teams, with the Patriots very influential in the overall broadcasting committee and the overall content committee, network committee, whatever committee it is. A lot of power from the Patriots as it relates to the NFL's in-house network. I think the message the team wanted out there was anybody who's thinking about hiring Bill Belichick after the season has to deal with us. And here's where this goes from here. It's not something that's going to play out after the season. This is something, and this gets back to what I was saying earlier about phone calls that never happened, communications that shouldn't occur, the Browns letting the Titans or the Raiders know if they cut their veteran quarterback who's on the bench, the Browns will claim him on waivers. By getting this out there now, the Patriots are inviting a discreet phone call, possibly through intermediaries, possibly multiple levels down from ownership with appropriate buffers in between, making it known that Team X, Team Y, Team Z has interest in acquiring the rights to employ Bill Belichick. And I think everything would be lined up before we get to the end of the regular season. This is the time of year that owners who think about making changes make their decisions about whether or not the current coach stays, and they make decisions about who gets pursued. So anybody out there between now and week 18 who's considering firing a coach or has already decided to do so, Belichick's in play, but you got to deal with the Patriots. And if you wait until after the season's over to initiate the process, you will have waited too long. This is problematic if it happens this way. Don't get me wrong. I can be more clear about the fact that this shouldn't happen, because what it does, it prevents a realistic search from occurring. It prevents the Rooney Rule from being complied with in spirit. It can be complied with in letter. Because what happens is, and I'll just use the Buccaneers as an example. let's say they don't make it to the playoffs, they fire Todd Bowles. They can't just call the Patriots the next day and say, hey, let's make a deal for Bill Belichick. They've got to comply with the Rooney Rule. They've got to do a real search. So they would go through the motions of a search, and then at some point it would be appropriate and timely to pick up the telephone and call the Patriots. I submit to you that they will have already done that, and they will already know exactly what it's going to take to get Bill Belichick, and they will know what it is going to take to pay Bill Belichick. It's all going to be worked out in advance if it happens after the season ends. Now, if he just gets fired after the final game of the regular season, that will mean the phone never rang. And they don't want to sit around and wait to start their own coaching search while they wait for someone to blink and someone to call and someone to say, hey, we know you're going to fire the guy anyway. Why don't we give you a draft pick and you can just hand him to us? And I think the key is going to be how many teams get involved. The more teams involved, the more likely somebody steps up with something real that the Patriots would get in exchange for Belichick. So I'm not making any firm predictions on what happens after the season. All I'm saying is this. The rest of the league is on notice. If you want Belichick, if he's on your wish list, you got to deal with the Patriots. And even though it defies the rules in spirit at a minimum, if not in letter, you better work something out with the Patriots before we get to Week 18. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.